The trees stood tall, their branches reaching out like skeletal arms, casting long shadows on the forest floor. They were ancient sentinels, gnarled and twisted, each one a testament to the passage of time. The Whispering Woods, a place of shadows and secrets, where every rustle of leaves seemed to carry a hidden message. The air hung heavy. It was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, a heady mix that filled the senses and grounded you in the present moment. The sun struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, its rays barely making it through the thick foliage. It cast long, eerie fingers of light that danced on the forest floor, creating an ever-shifting tapestry of light and shadow. The wind whispered through the leaves, a soft, almost melodic sound that seemed to carry the voices of the past. It sounded like voices, murmuring secrets best left unheard, tales of old that were never meant to be spoken aloud. There was a palpable sense of unease, a feeling that something was watching, waiting just beyond the edge of sight. It clung to the woods like morning mist, wrapping around you and seeping into your very bones. Locals spoke of the woods in hushed tones, their voices tinged with fear and reverence. They told tales of strange lights and unexplained sounds, phenomena that defied logic and reason. Some spoke of ghostly figures, apparitions that appeared and vanished without a trace. They were said to wander the woods at night, their ethereal forms barely visible in the moonlight. The Whispering Woods held a dark allure, a magnetic pull that drew you in despite the danger. It was both terrifying and irresistible, a place where fear and fascination intertwined. I had always been drawn to the unknown, the mysteries that lay hidden in the shadows. My curiosity outweighed my fear, a burning desire to uncover the truth behind the legends. So, one crisp autumn afternoon, I found myself at the edge of the woods, the boundary between the known and the unknown. I was ready to face whatever secrets they held, to step into the darkness and discover what lay hidden within the Whispering Woods.
The path was narrow, barely visible under the thick canopy of trees, and overgrown. Thorny bushes clawed at my clothes, leaving tiny scratches on my skin. The forest seemed to close in around me, each step more difficult than the last. I ventured deeper into the woods. The sunlight faded, casting long shadows that danced eerily on the forest floor. The air grew colder, a chill that seemed to seep into my bones. I could hear the wind rustling the leaves, a soft, almost soothing sound. But there was something else too. A faint whisper, just at the edge of hearing, like a distant voice carried on the breeze. I stopped, holding my breath. The whisper came again, clearer this time. It seemed to be coming from the trees themselves, as if the forest was trying to communicate with me. I pressed on, my heart pounding in my chest. The path took a sharp turn, and I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what lay ahead. I gasped. Standing before me was a clearing, bathed in an eerie, otherworldly light. In the center stood a dilapidated cabin, its presence both inviting and foreboding. It was half hidden by overgrown vines, as if nature itself was trying to reclaim it. The windows were boarded up, and the door hung precariously from one hinge, creaking softly in the wind. The whisper grew stronger, more insistent. It seemed to be coming from the cabin, beckoning me closer with an almost magnetic pull. I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew then that I was not alone. Something was watching me, its presence palpable in the stillness of the forest. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever lay ahead, and stepped forward into the unknown. I turned to leave. The whisper turned into a shriek. I spun around. There was nothing there. I was alone. I ran. I didn't stop running until I reached the edge of the woods. I stumbled out, gasping for breath. The sun was setting. It cast long shadows across the clearing. I looked back at the woods. They were dark and forbidding. The whispers seemed to follow me. I could still hear them, faint but unmistakable. I knew I had to go back. I had to find out what was whispering in the woods. I returned the next day armed with a flashlight and a camera. I was determined to uncover the truth behind the whispers.
I started by researching the history of the woods. I visited the local library. I pored over old maps and documents. I discovered that the woods had a dark past. They had once been the site of a brutal massacre. A Native American tribe had been slaughtered there by settlers. Legend had it that the woods were haunted by the spirits of the slain tribe members. I also found an account of a young woman who had disappeared in the woods a century ago. Her body was never found. Some said she had been taken by the spirits of the woods, As I delved deeper into the history of the woods, I began to feel a growing sense of unease. The whispers seemed to be getting louder. They were closer. Section 5. The Old Mill Town. This place had always been shrouded in mystery and whispers of the past. The old mill, now a ghostly relic, stood as a testament to a time long forgotten. I decided to focus my investigation on the dilapidated cabin. It was said to hold secrets that no one had dared to uncover for decades. I had learned that it had once belonged to the family of the missing woman. Her disappearance had left the town in a state of perpetual unease. I hiked back to the clearing, the path overgrown and barely visible. The forest seemed to close in around me, as if guarding its secrets. The cabin seemed even more sinister in the daylight. Its weathered wood and broken windows gave it an air of desolation. The boarded-up windows stared back at me like empty eyes, watching my every move. It felt as though the cabin itself was alive, breathing in the silence. I cautiously approached the cabin. I tested the doorknob, my heart pounding in my chest. It turned with a groan, the sound echoing through the stillness. The interior of the cabin was dark and dusty. Shadows danced on the walls as I stepped inside. Cobwebs hung from every corner, their delicate threads glistening in the faint light. The air was thick with the smell of decay, a pungent reminder of the cabin's long abandonment. I shone my flashlight around the room, revealing more of the cabin's forgotten past. I could see the remnants of furniture, a rusted bed frame, a broken chair. Each piece told a story of a life once lived here. I noticed something on the floor in the corner. It was partially hidden under a pile of debris. It was a small, leather-bound diary. The cover was worn and the pages were yellowed with age. I picked it up and blew off the dust. The diary felt heavy in my hands, as if it held the weight of the past within its pages. I knew that whatever was written inside could be the key to unraveling the mystery of the old mill town. The diary was old and fragile. The pages were yellowed with age. The ink was faded. I carefully opened the diary. I began to read. The diary belonged to the missing woman. Her name was Sarah. In her diary, Sarah wrote about the whispers. She too had heard them. She believed they were the voices of the dead. Sarah wrote about her fear. She wrote about her growing sense of dread. She believed that something was haunting her, something evil. I turned the page. My blood ran cold. The last entry in the diary was dated the day Sarah disappeared. The entry was short and frantic. "It's here," it read. "It's found me." The diary ended abruptly. I closed the diary. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I knew then that I had to find out what had happened to Sarah. I searched the cabin for clues. I found nothing. I decided to search the woods around the cabin. I followed a narrow trail that led deeper into the woods. The trail was overgrown with thorns and brambles. It was difficult to follow. I pressed on, determined to find answers. As I hiked, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I could hear the whispers all around me. They seemed to be getting louder. They were angrier. I stopped. I listened. The whispers seemed to be coming from a grove of trees ahead. I cautiously made my way toward the trees. The trees were different from the others in the woods. They were ancient and gnarled. Their branches were twisted into grotesque shapes. The air in the grove was heavy and oppressive. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I could feel a presence in the grove. It was a dark and malevolent presence. I knew then that I'd stumbled upon something dangerous. I took a step back. As I did, I tripped over something on the ground. I fell to the soft earth. I looked back to see what had tripped me. My blood ran cold. It was a human skull. It was half buried in the dirt. I scrambled to my feet. I turned to run, but it was too late.
Something grabbed me from behind. I screamed. I struggled against my attacker, but it was no use. I was dragged deeper into the grove. I was thrown to the ground at the base of a massive oak tree. I looked up. I gasped in horror. Standing over me was a shadowy figure. It was tall and gaunt. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. The figure reached out a clawed hand. I closed my eyes and waited for the end, but the end never came. I slowly opened my eyes. The figure was gone. I was alone. I stumbled to my feet. I ran. I didn't stop running until I reached my car.
I never went back to the Whispering Woods. I couldn't. The memory of that night haunted me. I knew that I had escaped death, but I didn't know how or why. I often think about Sarah. I think about what happened to her that night in the woods. I think about the whispers, and I wonder if they will ever be silenced. The Whispering Woods remain a mystery. They are a place of darkness and secrets, a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin. If you ever find yourself at the edge of the Whispering Woods, heed my warning. Turn back. Some secrets are best left buried. I still hear the whispers sometimes. They're faint, but they're there, lurking in the shadows of my mind. They remind me of the darkness that lies hidden beneath the surface of our world. I can't escape the feeling that the Whispering Woods haven't finished with me yet, that something is waiting for me, watching me. I can only hope that when it finally decides to reveal itself, I'll be ready. What did I see that night? What became of Sarah? And what other secrets lie hidden within the heart of the Whispering Woods? The answers, I fear, are only found within the whispers themselves.